When we talk about building a game plan, so this is kind of what we start with on a weekly basis. Okay, the first thing that we do, our first thought process, right, again, is going to stick with our personnel, right? Okay, what can we do? Okay, where do we match up well? What are our strengths? What are their strengths? What are our deficiencies? What are their deficiencies? Okay, how can we put our guys in a position to have success, right? Not asking guys to do stuff that they can't do, right? That's the worst thing that you can do, is go in on Sunday, right, or Saturday morning watching the film and sit there and be like, man, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that, right? We should have had a plan for that, right, going into the week, obviously, okay? Can't ask our guys to do stuff that they can't do. Okay, and then focusing on what we do well, right? Okay, building a game plan centered around, okay, our identity, our core, our offensive values, right? Okay, starting there with us, making it always about us, okay? Building resilient football plays. I think this is super important, okay, specifically in the pass game, which I deal with the most, obviously, but calling pass plays, calling plays that have answers, okay, versus multiple looks, okay? We've had a lot more success doing that as opposed to calling kind of one-hit plays, right, where you've got to get a super specific look. You've got to call it at the right play versus the right look, coverage, not going to blitz, whatever it is, right? And so building resilient plays into your game plan, right, which allows you as a play caller, okay, or a coach to feel much more confident that your guys have answers in what they're running, okay? On the flip side of that, you've got to make sure you've got checks to get out of those one-hitting plays, right, if you get the looks you don't like, and then to have layers, right? And so obviously having an identity and simplicity is beautiful, but being able to do multiple things well is just so much harder for a defense when they have to defend multiple things. If you're able to run the ball well, throw the ball well, get the ball on the perimeter, change the picture for them, right? Having those layers and nuances to your offense that you can get to, okay, makes it only harder for a defense to cover you throughout the course of a game, okay? So the next part of that, right, is we get into building our buckets, right? And so every week, okay, that's kind of my job really on Monday afternoon, is to go through, okay, and make sure, hey, you know, do we have enough in our run game this week, right? Okay, we're heavy zone and gap scheme, obviously, but we have a lot of perimeter runs, perimeter touches, okay? Our RPOs, okay? Our RPOs, the way we build them out, okay, we've got first level, right, fast screens. We've got a bunch of second and third level as well, but then we carry a bunch of man RPOs or man checks in the RPO game as well for the quarterback, right? That way that they have answers, okay, based on the looks that we're going to get. Perimeter touches, okay, scripting touches to get our guys in space on the edge. That was one of our most successful plays last year, was just throwing swing passes and cutting guys down and cracking and blocking guys, right? Especially on P and 10 to start the drive, get things going, and then we'll get into tempo after that. Screens, movements, okay? I did a huge study this offseason on movements, and one of the great things about getting the quarterback outside of the pocket, outside of the obvious of changing the launch point, right, for the defense, is it's really easy to avoid negative plays. This was, you know, we all had our off-season studies. I studied 35 teams and over 900 clips. There were 7 negatives, okay, taken by the quarterback on movement plays, right? Less than 1%, because it's easy, okay, to one, throw the ball away and to utilize your legs and scramble, okay, and pick up positive yards as well. So moving the pocket, getting your quarterback out on the edge, especially if you have an athletic quarterback, and then utilizing quick game as well, right? We throw probably a little bit more quick game than most people do right now, okay? That's a huge part of our game plan. Drop back, shots, and then obviously all the situational stuff that you need going into a week, okay? From a creative standpoint, good. This is really the list right here of how we think, right? So the first thing we're going to do is think, how can we run our plays and our base install out of different formations and change the picture, right? How can we keep the reads for the quarterback, okay, his timing, his footwork, his thought process, his progressions, the exact same, right? So obviously bias, speaking through a quarterback's lens, you want to keep it as friendly to the quarterback as humanly possible. You don't want to change a bunch of that stuff week to week, or at least that's what we believe, okay? So we'll start with formations, then we'll add motion, okay? And then alignments, tempo, and those things, okay? So really what we're doing there is we're creating the illusion of complexity, right? You hear people talk about that all the time, but that window dressing, right? 2 plays, packaging plays together, right? Having multiple plays and multiple looks where you utilize those same motions, those same shifts, those same formations, whatever it may or may not be, right? And then creating layers that way. And then the last one would be new schematics, because obviously you're going to go into a week and you're going to see something, hey, we got a great look for this in the run game, right? Coach Leftwich and be like, man, we've got to run this specific play this week, right? Or in the pass game, hey, we need to pull out this play from a couple years ago that really worked against this defense. But that's the last thing that we want to get to as far as changing that for the quarterback. And then from a quarterback perspective, okay, he's got to understand the objective of every single play, right? And that's on me and on us as coaches, right, to detail that to him, okay? First and foremost is the footwork, right? Like, I'm a big believer in teaching footwork. I grew up in West Coast systems, right? And so really to me, the footwork is about timing up the quarterback's read and progression with getting receivers open at certain depths down the field, right? Like that's hard, okay? And it's hard having played quarterback and now coaching them to just say, hey, just go back there and chill, right? And do whatever, right? No, it's 3-step, it's rhythm, it's one shuffle, it's hitch. You know, why do you hitch? All those different things. And so within your system, coaching the nuances of footwork, that way you can play on time. You don't want to play ahead of schedule. You don't want to play behind schedule. You want to play right on time as a quarterback, okay? Understanding efficient versus explosive play calls, right? If Coach Morris or Coach Davis were out here and we're calling stick, right, our stick or variation of stick, we're hoping we're going to complete that 80% or more, right? Like we're calling that to get 7 or 8 yards, right, and see what happens after that, okay? We don't want to go out there and call a stick and hold on to our hats and go, we don't know what he's going to do, right? As opposed to, okay, knowing when we're taking explosive shots down the field. Reads and progression, obviously, okay? That's very important and goes without saying, okay? But then number 4 there is where are my hots and where are my outlets? Where can I go with the football, right, if I get pressure, okay? Where can I go with the football if I get tricked as a quarterback and my progression's off or they changed the look post-snap and I got confused or whatever happened? Where can I go to get the ball out of my hand, to get some positive yards and move on to the next play and avoid negatives, okay? That last part, capability versus capacity, that's something I stole about 4 or 5 years ago from Sean McVay. And really capability is memorizing and being able to get on the whiteboard and talk through things, and that's great. That's the first step, obviously, but you would love your quarterback to get to the point where, right, the capacity to go out there and to really truly process information, right, in the moment of the game, right, and be a problem solver, right, okay? They shifted the shell of the safeties, okay? They brought pressure. We weren't expecting it. Whatever the case may be, right, he has to have the ability, right, to sort through all those things, okay, and make a great decision, right, and take care of the football and move on to the next play. And that comes with reps. That comes with film study. That comes with preparation. That comes with time. That comes with all those things, obviously, right? But all of those being equally important